Things were going slow while working on changes for the Elderseed. Going at my own pace, I had no clear goal when I'd have a new version ready. Until I got this email. And then I knew it was time. This invitation to Steam Next Fest gave me a clear goal. I had to get this list done and release my new demo before June. In this video, I want to share with you how I got through the remainder of these changes and delivered the demo on time for Steam Next Fest. Welcome to Devlog 10 of the Elderseed. To recap, last year I had released my first demo of Milo, Tale of the Elderseed, now renamed just the Elderseed. Combining the feedback from all you wonderful people and the renowned Thomas Brush, I had a long list of changes to make to my game. In the last video, I gave Milo a new look, made some rocks, added a new enemy to the fold, and new dangers to the environment. There were a lot of changes which I can't cover in just one video, so I'll highlight a few of them and quickly cover the rest. First, this long title. I shortened it up to the Elderseed, but it felt like it needed something else visually. For reference, I like the way the Final Fantasy logos have this really nice art piece behind the title. I wanted something to that effect. I had this idea to give it a big mark that could represent the Elderseed's ethereal nature, so I got to drawing and experimenting with a few concepts, and I ended up on this illustration. I could imagine this with a glow and sort of moving like it's alive. And here's the result. I'm pretty happy with it. As for the cutscene, I had to rework the story. I decided to go in a different direction visually because I wasn't entirely satisfied with the way it looked before. I had originally had this thought of the game being played as if you're reading an old story. So I decided to design the cutscene like you're being read an old book. Inspired by the old Neverending Story film, which had an emblem on the cover, I wanted to do something similar. Fortunately, I had already designed this Elderseed mark for the title, so I just used that. I love working with Blender, so I took this design into the software and modeled a satisfying book cover. After I rewrote the story, I made several drawings to support the new style. I slapped them together to look like parchment pages as the book is being read. And then I hired a voice actor to read the story, and voila, a new cutscene is done.
In its final valiant act, the great tree produced a seed, a magnificent embodiment of its wondrous power and boundless wisdom.
Speaking of cutscenes, I wanted to add some real-time cutscenes to the demo, but I had no idea how that was done. I quickly learned that Unity has this timeline feature that allows you to use some game objects and animations to edit together in a cutscene. Well, that's great. I have a background in video editing, so this should be easy to figure out, right? At first it was a little difficult to grasp, but after a while I figured it out, and with the exception of a few hangups, I got it working. Just create a game object, open the timeline window and click Create. Name your cutscene, and Unity will add a playable director component to your game object with the timeline asset. Now you can begin making a cutscene by using tracks like animation or activation. For instance, I'll add an animation track to the timeline, add the game object to animate, in this case my character, hit record, move the character where I want it to be, and then use the animation that's appropriate. And there it is! Using these fundamentals, I can make anything I want in a cutscene. Next on the list, I had to rework the shop. It needs more character. I threw it together in the first demo, but this time around I really needed to flesh it out. So I rearranged the layout, I added some foreground elements, and I came up with a name instead of just shop. It's called Aldrich's Apothecary. There we go. And now to add the shopkeeper. I wanted to make a character that was a little quirky, so I designed him like he's a rabid collector of artifacts. He's so passionate about these things that he doesn't have time to perfect his own image. Therefore, I gave him a hat that's shaped like a mushroom and it's all stitched together. Also because he's in the forest. So this is what I ended up with. Everyone meet Aldrich the shopkeeper. After that, I knew I had to rework how the player interacted with the shop. The old demo has just the items hanging out at the counter, but since I'm already working with a dialogue system, and now I have a shopkeeper NPC, I decided to make shopping into an interface with buttons. This kind of challenged me because I had to jump back and forth between the dialogue manager, which was handling the conversation, and the UI interface shop window. I had to do some digging with the Pixel Crushers forum and the documentation to learn how to do this, but I was glad to learn how flexible this tool actually is. Once I could wrap my brain around it and understand how you can pause the conversation to start an event and hide the dialogue window, for this instance, opening up the shop, and then when you're done, you can call back the dialogue window and resume the conversation. This worked perfectly with what I was trying to accomplish, and now it feels more like a natural interaction. Making the shop itself was fairly simple, except I needed to have some items be locked after a single purchase. And not only that, I needed to save the state of said purchase. After overcoming these issues, I'm pleased with the result. I added some ambience to the store, and now the new shop is ready.
Nicht hide.
As you can now see, one of the changes I had on the list was to move the dialog box in the upper third of the screen. I was initially against this idea, but now I believe it does work a lot better up here. To finish it off, I needed to add profile images of the NPC characters the player is engaged with. This is the final look, and I'm now pretty happy with it, and I'm glad for the change. So these are just a few of the improvements that I've made over the past 6 months to the demo. But there is a whole lot more. The following is a quick run-through of the many other changes. Nest the player and NPCs behind the ground layer. Give enemies a brand and a reason why they are the threat. Added a new boss. Added an elevator system. Add more breakables. Add gates to the village and sounds to let the player know the difference between a safe zone and a danger zone. Improve the UI for picking up just basic items. Added some new equipment. Give the player a voice. And more. All in all, this kept me pretty busy, and I did my best to clean up all the bugs before its release at Steam Next Fest. It was a tight deadline toward the end, but I'm pretty happy overall with the result and how everything turned out. I think that's about all I can cover in this video, so I'll end it here. Please let me know in the comments if you'd like me to cover anything, and if you'd like to know more about my process. I love reading your feedback, and when you did and didn't like about the game. I'll catch you all in the next video, where I think I'll go over how my game did in Steam Next Fest. Until next time, hopefully not in 6 months, I'll see you all later.